Hi, I'm Robi, also known as ambroscrochet somewhere on the internet, and today I'm going to show you how to make this cute little lion. So here's what we will need. Obviously I'm going to be using these colors, yarn, crochet hook, etc, but if you want to use anything different you can. So I'm going to be using yellow yarn for the body, red yarn for the mane, orange yarn for the nose and some parts of the body, a crochet hook to match your yarn, so in my case it's going to be a 3mm crochet hook, 8mm safety eyes, tapestry needle or needle and thread, pins, and then you're going to need a very small amount of black thread, so black thread and needle, and then some toy stuffing. So here are the stitches we will be working with: magic ring, chain stitch, single crochet increase, single crochet decrease. Okay, so we're going to start with the head, so you can choose the color of yarn that you want. I'm going to be using my yellow yarn, and as usual we're going to start with a magic ring. And then the first round is going to be 6 single crochets into the magic ring. Okay, and once that is done we move on to the second round, which is going to be 1 increase in each stitch, so 6 increases in total, which means that at the end of the round we're going to have 12 single crochets. Okay, and once round 2 is done we can move on to round 3, which is going to be 1 single crochet and then 1 increase repeated 6 times, which means that at the end of the round we're going to have 18 single crochets, and I'll see you when I have those done. Okay, so once round 3 is done we can move on to round 4, which is going to be 2 single crochets and then 1 increase repeated again 6 times, so at the end we're going to have 24 single crochets, and I'll see you when I have those done. Okay, and once round 4 is done we can move on to round 5, which is going to be 3 single crochets and then 1 increase repeated 6 times, so at the end we're going to have 30 single crochets, and I'll see you when I have those done. Okay, so with round 5 done we can move on to round 6. Okay, show yourself up? No. Okay, there we go. Okay, and with round 5 done we can move on to round 6, which is just going to be 1 single crochet in each stitch, so at the end of round 6 we will still have 30 single crochets, and I'll see you when I have those done. Okay, round 6 is done, so we can move on to round 7, which is going to be 4 single crochets and then 1 increase, so at the end of the round we're going to have 36 single crochets, and I will see you when I have those done. Okay, so now that round 7 is done we can move on to round 8, which is just going to be 1 single crochet in each stitch, so at the end we will still have 36 single crochets, and I will see you when I have those done. Okay, so now that round 8 is done we can move on to round 9, which is going to be 5 single crochets and then 1 increase, so 3, 4, 5 single crochets and then 1 increase repeated again 6 times, so at the end we're going to have 42 single crochets, and I'll see you when I have those done. Okay, so with round 9 done we can move on to rounds 10 to 14, so the next 5 rounds are just going to be 1 single crochet in each stitch, so at the end of rounds 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 and 15 we will still have 42 single crochets, and I'll see you when I have those done. Okay, so I have round 14 done. Before we move on to round 15, we're going to place the safety eyes if you're using them. So we're going to place the safety eyes between rounds 10 and 11. I already put a pin where I have to put them, so between round 10 and 11, and they have to be about 5 stitches apart. So here. Yes, okay. Okay, I'm going to secure them off camera and then I'll be back for the next round, which is actually going to be, I'm just going to show you, it's going to be, I picked up the wrong crochet hook, it's going to be 5 single crochets and then 1 decrease repeated 6 times. So at the end we're going to have 36 single crochets. So this is 4, 5 and then 1 decrease. So at the end we're going to have 36 single crochets, and I'll see you when I have those done. Okay, so now that round 15 is done, we can move on to round 16, which is going to be 4 single crochets and then 1 decrease repeated again 6 times. So at the end we're going to have 30 single crochets, and I will see you when I have those done. Okay, and now that round 16 is done, we can move on to round 17, which is going to be 3 single crochets and then 1 decrease repeated again 6 times. So at the end we're going to have 24 single crochets, and I will see you when I have those done. Okay, so round 17 is done, so now we can move on to round 18, which is going to be 2 single crochets and then 1 decrease repeated 6 times. So at the end we're going to have 18 single crochets, and I will see you when I have those done. Okay, round 18 is done, so now we can move on to round 19, which is just going to be 1 single crochet in each stitch. So at the end we will still have 18 single crochets, and I'll see you when I have those done. Okay, so now that round 19 is done, we're going to be working the head and the body in one piece. So we will not be decreasing, we will be increasing, and this also means that you don't necessarily have to stuff the head right now. You can stuff it a little bit later. You could technically stuff it at the end of the body. It's just your preference. So now we move on to round 20, which is going to be 2 single crochets and then 1 increase repeated 6 times. So at the end we're going to have 24 single crochets, and I will see you when I have those done. Okay, so round 20 is done, so now we can move on to round 21, which is going to be 3 single crochets and then 1 increase repeated 6 times. So at the end we're going to have 30 single crochets, and I will see you when I have those done. Okay, so once round 21 is done, we can move on to round 22, which is just going to be 1 single crochet in each stitch. So at the end we will still have 30 single crochets, and I'll see you when I have those done. Okay, so now that round 22 is done, we can move on to round 23, which is still going to be 1 single crochet in each stitch. So at the end we will still have 30 single crochets, and I'll see you when I have those done. Okay, and now we move on to round 24, which is going to be 4 single crochets and then 1 increase repeated 6 times. So at the end we're going to have 36 single crochets, and I will see you when I have those done. Okay, and now that round 24 is done, we have rounds 25 and 26, which are both going to be 1 single crochet in each stitch. So at the end of each round we will still have 36 single crochets. So at the end of round 25 and 26 we will still have 36 single crochets, and I'll see you when I have those done. Okay, with round 26 done, we can move on to round 27, which is going to be 5 single crochets and then 1 increase repeated again 6 times. So at the end we're going to have 42 single crochets, and I will see you when I have those done. I hope I got that right because I didn't count. So I'll see you when I have those done. Okay, so with round 27 done, we move on to rounds 28, 29 and 30, because the next 3 rounds are just going to be 1 single crochet in each stitch. So at the end of each round we will still have 42 single crochets. So 28, 29 and 30, you get it. I'll see you when I have those done. Okay, so once round 30 is done, we can move on to round 31, which is going to be 5 single crochets. Okay, 5 single crochets and then 1 decrease repeated 6 times. So at the end we're going to have 36 single crochets. The 30 is just not coming out right today. 36 single crochets, and I will see you when I have those done. Okay, so round 31 is done, so now we can move on to round 32, which is going to be the last round, and that's just going to be 1 single crochet in each stitch. So at the end we will still have 36 single crochets, so I'll see you when I have those done. Okay, so once round 32 is done, we are just going to slip stitch, and you don't need to leave too long of a tail because we will be using the tail from the legs to sew them, so you don't need to leave too long of a tail. And as you can see, I haven't stuffed the body and the head yet, so I'm just going to do that later before I sew the legs, and so this is a little bit weird to see, but it's the head and the body done. Okay, so next we are going to be making the ears using still your yellow yarn, and this is going to be a real quick one, so you just want to start with a magic ring, and then round 1 is going to be 6 single crochets into the magic ring. Okay, and then round 2 is going to be 1 single crochet and then 1 increase repeated 3 times, so at the end we're going to have 9 single crochets, so this is 1 single crochet and then 1 increase repeated again 3 times. Okay, and then you want to just fasten off. That's the ear done. We are going to cut, leaving just a little bit of a tail so that we can sew the ear to the head, and you want to curve it down like this. Okay, so this is the ear done, and you want to make 2 of these, so we have both ears done. Okay, and next, still using the yellow yarn, we're going to be making the muzzle. So to make the muzzle, you want to start with a chain, specifically a chain of 3. So we're going to make the magic ring, and then we are going to make 3 chains. And then starting from the second chain from the hook, you want to make 2 single crochets into that second chain from the hook, so 2 single crochets into that chain, and then you want to make 4 single crochets into the next chain, which is also the last chain that you have, so 4 single crochets into that chain. And you will see that by making 4 single crochets into the last chain, you will naturally have to turn your work, which is what we want, because now we're working on the other side of the starting chain, and specifically into the next chain, which is again the last chain that we have, we're going to make 2 single crochets. So basically what we have is we have 4 single crochets into the first chain that we made and 4 single crochets into the second chain that we made. Okay, so this is round 1 done, and then we move on to round 2, which is going to start with an increase. So in the first single crochet that we have, we're going to be working 1 increase. And then we're going to make 1 single crochet in each of the next 2 single crochets, and then we're going to make 2 increases, so 1 increase in each of the next 2 stitches. So this is 1 and this is 2, and then again 1 single crochet in each of the next 2 single crochets, and then into the last stitch we are going to make 1 increase. And then for the third and final round, we're just going to be making 1 single crochet in each stitch for a total of 12 single crochets. Okay, and then we're just going to slip stitch and cut the yarn, leaving a little bit of a tail so that we can sew the muzzle to the head. So this is the muzzle done. We're going to embroider the nose later, or if you want to use a plastic nose, obviously you can. Okay, so next we're going to be working on the arms. So you want to make 2 of these, and as usual we're going to start with a magic ring. I'm going to be using my yellow yarn, and we are going to start with a magic ring, and the first round is going to be 6 single crochets into the magic ring. Okay, and then we have round 2, which is going to be 1 increase in each of the next 6 single crochets, so 1 increase in each stitch basically, which is going to be 12 single crochets for round 2, and I will see you when I have those done. Okay, so once round 2 is done, we can move on to round 3, which is going to be 3 single crochets and then 1 increase repeated 3 times. So at the end we're going to have 15 single crochets, and as per usual I will see you when I have those done. Okay, so once round 3 is done, we move on to rounds 4, 5 and 6, because the next 3 rounds are just going to be 1 single crochet in each stitch. So at the end of rounds 4, 5 and 6 we will still have 15 single crochets, and I'll see you when I have those done. Okay, so once round 6 is done, we can move on to round 7, which is going to be 3 single crochets and then 1 decrease repeated 3 times, which means that at the end we're going to have 12 single crochets. So I will see you when I have those done. Okay, so once round 7 is done, we can move on to rounds 8 and 9, because the next 2 rounds are just going to be 1 single crochet in each stitch. So at the end of rounds 8 and 9 we will still have 12 single crochets. So I'll see you when I have those done. Okay, so once round 9 is done, we can move on to round 10, which is going to be 2 single crochets and then 1 decrease repeated 3 times. So at the end we're going to have 9 single crochets, and I will see you when I have those done. Okay, so with round 10 done, we can move on to the last round, which is going to be round 11, and it's just going to be 1 single crochet in each stitch. So at the end we will still have 9 single crochets, and I'll see you when I have those done. Okay, so with round 11 done, we are just going to slip stitch, and then we are going to cut the yarn, leaving a tail as usual just to sew the arm to the body. And I've stuffed the arm, not too much, I don't like to stuff it too much, but obviously, you know, that's your preference. And you want to make 2 of these. Okay, so now we move on. Okay, so now we're going to make the legs, and to make the legs I started with the orange yarn, but you can start with the yellow yarn or truly any color that you want, but I'm going to be starting with the orange, and as usual we are going to start with a magic ring. And we are going to start round 1 by making 6 single crochets into the magic ring. Okay, so once that is done, we move on to round 2, which is going to be 1 increase in each single crochet, which means that at the end we are going to have 12 single crochets, and I will see you when I have those done. Okay, and now that round 2 is done, we can move on to round 3, which is going to be 1 single crochet and then 1 increase repeated 6 times. So at the end we're going to have 18 single crochets, and I'll see you when I have those done. Okay, so now that round 3 is done, we move on to round 4, and we're going to switch to the yellow yarn if you are working in a different color, and we are going to make 1 single crochet in each stitch, but they're going to be worked in back loops only. Okay, so 1 single crochet in each stitch, which means that at the end of the round we're still going to have 18 single crochets, but they have to be worked in back loops only. So I'll see you when I have those done. Okay, so with round 4 done, we can move on to round 5, which is going to be, first of all, 3 single crochets and then 1 increase repeated 3 times. This is not going to finish the round, so don't worry if it doesn't, it's not supposed to. So 3 single crochets and then 1 increase repeated 3 times. And then to finish the round, we're going to make 1 single crochet in each of the next 6 single crochets. So at the end, we're going to have 21 single crochets. Okay, so round 5 is done. We move on to round 6, which is just going to be 1 single crochet in each stitch. So at the end, we will still have 21 single crochets, and I'll see you when I have those done. Okay, so now that round 6 is done, we can move on to round 7, which is going to be 4 single crochets and then 1 increase repeated again only 3 times. So this is not going to finish the round, it's not supposed to. So 4 single crochets and then 1 increase repeated 3 times. Okay, and then to finish the round, we're going to make 1 single crochet in each of the next 6 single crochets. So at the end, we're going to have 24 single crochets. Okay, and once that is done, we move on to the final round, which is going to be 1 single crochet in each stitch. So at the end, we're going to have 24 single crochets, and I will see when I have I'll see you when I have those done. Okay, and finally we're just going to slip stitch, and then we're going to leave a little bit of a tail to sew the leg to the body. And again, you want to make 2 of these. Okay, so now that we have all the pieces, we're going to assemble them. So first of all, we're going to be placing the ears. Now the ears have to go on round 6 down to round 10 approximately. And when it comes to round 10, so you will notice that round 10, for me, it's the exact round where the top of the eye, if you will, can be found. So I counted 5 stitches from the eye to the bottom of the ear, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's where the ear has to go on both sides. And then on round 6, if you counted the stitches in between the top of the ears this time, you would have about 14 stitches. So that's how I placed the ears. So that's the ears. Next, the muzzle is going to be a little bit more simple because you have to place it right between the eyes. As you can see, I've already sorry, I was dropping my crochet hook. As you can see, I've already embroidered the nose and kind of like the line of the muzzle. I don't usually show myself embroidering because I'm not very good at it. If you ever want me to show it, I can. I don't know, maybe you can pick something up. So I've already done that, and then I placed the muzzle in between the eyes, and the muzzle should cover rounds 11 to about 14, 15. And then you want to place the arms. So the arms have to go on round 20, and they're going to be 8 stitches apart, counting both the front, so 8 stitches on the front and about 8 stitches on the back. To place the arms, you can use the ears as guide. That's usually what I do. So basically you can trace kind of like an imaginary line from the ear, and that should go approximately like in between the arm. It should approximately cut the arm in half. So those are all the parameters I think you might need, and I'll be back for the legs because that's going to require a little bit more instructions, but I'll be back once this is all sewn. Oh wait, no, my bad. After you're done sewing one of the ears, leave the tail. So don't cut the tail from one of the ears. Okay, I'm going to show you something. Okay, see you in a second. Okay, so I have the pieces sewn, and now I'm going to show you a little bit of shaping that I wanted to do for the eyes. So as you can see, I left the needle on the tail from the ear. You get what I'm saying. So I'm going to just bring this yarn here. So basically, this is the issue that I always have. So the eye doesn't technically have corners, but if it were to have corners, it would be the upper inner corner, or if you will, right here. Okay, hopefully you can see that. So you want to bring your yarn there. And what you do is you insert the needle basically hugging that stitch, okay, if that makes sense. So you don't want to insert the needle into the same space where the needle came, because that would just take the yarn out. You want to insert the needle right under in the round, if you will, right underneath the one where you have just placed the needle, or where the needle has just come out. It's easier to see than explain, so it's just here. And you want to have the needle come out on the corresponding stitch on the other eye, so right here. And you can just pull, not too much, just a little bit, and then you repeat that. So you insert the needle on the round below the one where the needle just came out, and you go back to the first eye right at that first stitch. And now you can pull a little bit more and you repeat these until basically you are satisfied with the shape of the face of the lion, I guess. And you can also change the stitches, so if say you want to push the eyes inwards here, you can insert the needle here and this is kind of what will happen, or you can do it here, which is probably what I'm going to do, and it's going to push the eyes this way. So you can kind of adjust and see where you would like it best. So that's what I'm going to do, and then I'll be back. Okay, so I have the shaping of the face done. Now we're going to move on to the legs, and before you move on to the legs, you want to make sure that you have stuffed the body. So one thing that I wanted to focus your attention on, because it's something I've noticed that I do myself, so maybe you do it too, is when you have an amigurumi where the head and the body are not separate, so basically we've worked the head and the body together, they're not sewn together. Sometimes I tend to stuff the head too little, and I tend to stuff the neck, if you will, a little bit too much. So you want to pay attention to really stuffing the head enough and not stuffing the neck too much, so that you don't end up changing the shape of the amigurumi with the stuffing. Okay, so that's maybe just something you might want to pay attention to. And then we move on to the legs. So if you remember, when we were making the legs, we only increased on one side, meaning that we had 6 single crochets where we did not increase, and they're fairly easy to find because they are the 6 single crochets that you can count backwards, starting from the last stitch that you've made. Okay, so for this one, it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, so these 6 single crochets are going to be the inside of the leg, which means that the part where you increase is going to be the outside of the leg. Now the outside of the leg means that that part, which is going to be 18 single crochets, because if you remember, the last round was 24 single crochets and the last round of the body was 36 single crochets, which means that these 6 single crochets, and the same goes for the other leg, so these 6 single crochets are going to be the inside of the leg, and the remaining 18 single crochets, which because we have 2 legs is going to be 36 single crochets, are going to be sewn alongside this part of the body. Okay, does that make sense? If I were to place it, it would be like this. Okay, so here we have the 6 single crochets where we did not increase, and here we have the side where we increased. Okay, so first of all, you want to split the body in half, basically. So what I did was I just, as usual, I traced an imaginary line starting from the magic ring from the head, and I went down kind of like going through the nose, and then I placed the pin. I counted 18 single crochets because obviously again we want to divide it in half, and it's 36 single crochets, and I placed a second pin, and obviously then you can check it by eye and see if it looks if it looks right. Okay, so that's the first thing that you want to do. And then you want to place the leg, and as I said, you have 6 single crochets which are going to be the inside of the leg. You can stuff the leg before or after you've sewn it as far as the first leg goes. Obviously for the second one it's going to be a little bit more difficult to stuff it after you've sewn it, so you have to be a little bit careful about that. But what we can do to make these a little bit easier is we're going to mark the 6 single crochets that are the inside of the leg. So from this one, sorry if you hear Oliver, he wants to get into the room, but then he wants to get onto the desk, which is not good right now. So right here, these are the 6 single crochets that go inside. They're going to be the inside of the leg, and then the remaining 18 are just going to be sewn right here. So you take the body and you want the first single crochet right after those 6 single crochets to be sewn to the single crochet that you've marked with your pin. Okay, so it's going to be right this way. Okay, so we can pin the leg to the body. So obviously, because we have 18 single crochets on the outside of the leg and 18 single crochets on this half of the body, you should sew 1 single crochet of the leg to 1 single crochet of the body, and the same goes for the second leg. Okay, so hopefully that's clear enough. I'll be back once I have the 2 legs sewn. Okay, so once we have the outside of the legs sewn, I'm going to sew the inside of the legs together using the remaining tail, and then I'll be back to show you how to make the mane. Okay, so once that is done, we are going to move on to the mane. So you want to get your red yarn, and so this is going to take a while. Okay, so you want to cut a strand of yarn. This is probably about 13 centimeters, and what you're going to do, and then I'm going to tell you once I'm done, so wait until I'm completely done. I'm going to tell you exactly where you should place the mane, but right now I'm just going to show you how to make it strand by strand. So you take your strand of yarn, fold it in half like so on your finger, and then you insert your crochet hook into a stitch, specifically in between rounds, and then you grab onto that strand of yarn, pull it through but not all the way, just a little bit, and then you yarn over and you pull through completely, and then you just pull until you have a little knot. Okay, and basically, as you can imagine, we have to repeat it for the whole head, which is going to take a little bit, but it's going to be worth it. And once I have it all done, I'm going to tell you exactly until which point or which stitch I have done the mane. Obviously you don't have to do it as I do it, but I'm just going to tell you just in case you want to know. Okay, so I'll be back in about 2 years when I'm done. Okay, so I'm back, I'm done, at least with that step. So as you can see, I have tied all the different strands to the head, and I've kind of trimmed them because they were obviously long, because it's more comfortable to work with longer strands. Now, as far as where to place them, so I placed them, as you can see, all around the face, if you will, and I've placed them starting from the 5th round over the eyes, and then you can count about 4 stitches here from the eye to the right, and same goes for the left. I've kept them a little bit shorter so that you can still see the ears. I've done a couple of rounds in front of the ears, if that helps you, and then I went about 2 rounds underneath the muzzle, and I kind of framed the face right here. You can kind of test and see where it looks best. So it's just a little bit tedious and a little bit long, but it's not difficult. So next and last step is going to be the tail. Okay, so to make the tail, we're going to get our yellow yarn, and you want to start as usual with the magic ring. Leave yourself just a little bit of a tail before you make the magic ring, so that we can then use that tail to tie the tail itself to the lion. And then we are going to chain 7. And then starting from the second chain from the hook, we're just going to be making 1 single crochet in each of the next 6 chains, so 6 single crochets in total. Okay, and then we're going to cut the yarn, leaving again just a little bit of a tail, and I like to just make a little knot here so that I'm sure it won't come apart. And now we are going to get our red yarn. No, this is just some residue from the mane. Okay, nope, look at this. This is just okay. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to cut just a few short strands, so like about 3, and then you want to take the tail, and you're going to insert your crochet hook into the last chain, which is the first single crochet that we worked. So not where you have the strands of yarn, but on the opposite side. You want to insert your crochet hook there. And then, much like we did for the main, we're going to get the strands of yarn, fold them in half. I'm going to do all at a time, but you can do one at a time. But it works the same way. So you want to, sorry, I skipped that. So you want to insert your crochet hook, fold these strands of yarn in half, and then you grab the strands, pull them through, not all the way, just a little bit. Okay, and then you just yarn over and pull them through that loop all the way this time. Tighten them so that you have a little knot, and then you want to cut them. Okay, so that we have a little tail, and then you take your lion and you want to measure it like the center of the body. It's pretty easy because you go just from the legs. So I go about 3 rounds above the legs, and right here I'm going to use these strands of yarn to just attach the tail. I'm literally just going to make a knot. And then I'm just going to hide the ends inside the body. Okay, and this is the lion done. I'm just brushing his hair basically. Okay, so this is the lion done. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I know I haven't posted anything in a long time, but I'm very thankful for people still like subscribing and watching and stuff. That's very appreciated. And if you'd like to subscribe, leave a like, leave a comment, that's always very much appreciated. If you have any questions, you can leave them down below. You can find me on my social media, which is probably somewhere on the screen right now. And if you have any requests also, I'm happy to take those. So if you want to request a tutorial or anything like that, I'll be happy to do it. And I think that's it. I hope you have a nice rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.